When most people hear female mangaka, they probably think cutesy art style and modern romance. But that's just scratching the surface. Women in manga have created some absolute classics. Dark, gory, emotional, and yes, even some romantic masterpieces. And while I've shared tons of anime recommendations on this channel that are created by women, I've never created a specific list just for that, and I thought it would be a really fun idea to kind of step away from the genres for a little bit.
What?
So today I'm giving you my top 10 anime created by women, and actually some of these on the list really surprised me.
I am shocked and appalled.
So let me know how many down below you didn't realize were created by women. And with that, let's get into it. Ooh. The first anime that I want to talk about is actually an honorable mention. It was going to be in the list itself, but I did get booted for another anime, okay? Sorry. And that is Blue Exorcist. Premiering in 2011, this dark supernatural fantasy was created by the mangaka Kazuie Kato, a powerhouse female mangaka whose work continues to blend shonen energy with emotional depth, a theme that you're gonna see throughout this video in my opinion.
That's my opinion!
Kato made her debut in 2000 with a one-shot published in Akamaru Jump, and after a few smaller projects, she launched Blue Exorcist in Jump Square in 2009, and it quickly became the magazine's flagship series. She's spoken openly about her influences, especially Berserk, and particularly the relationship between Guts, Griffith, and Casca, which you can really see in the relationship between Yukio and Ren in the story. They're two brothers bounded by fate, faith, and the weight of their father's legacy, and like Guts and Griffin, their relationship swings between admiration, resentment, and tragic inevitability, all wrapped in a supernatural battle of ideals and identity. And while Kato hasn't received any major awards for Blue Exorcist, her work has achieved international success, spawning anime seasons, movie, and a light novel. And what really stands out is how she's managed to be really consistent with her vision, which is something that a lot of mangakas aren't necessarily known for. And for those of you who haven't seen the anime, the story follows Ren Okumura, a seemingly ordinary teenager who discovers he's actually the son of Satan. When his father is killed, Ren then vows to become an exorcist and kill his biological father. What follows is a fast-paced blend of dark fantasy, religious symbolism, and moral conflict, exploring what it means to fight against one's nature and whether destiny can ever truly be rewritten. What I personally love about Blue Exorcist is it never shies away from emotional vulnerability, but also has a ton of high-paced action scenes. Kato's writing infuses a sense of heart into the chaos, balancing high-stakes action with moments of humor, grief, and found family. And one of the things I love most about the story is Ren himself, which I can't say about a lot of MCs, but he's definitely a must-protect kind of MC. And while the anime's adaptations, pacing, and production decisions, especially the filler arcs and timeline results, have held it back from the recognition it deserves, the manga remains consistently strong, and it still remains an anime that I thoroughly enjoy. Kato proves that female mangaka can create dark, layered, and action-heavy stories without sacrificing emotional nuance. Blue Exorcist may not always have the same spotlight as anime in the same era, but it's absolutely earned its place here on this list as my honorable mention, as a passionate, haunting, and beautifully human story from a insanely talented female mangaka. Starting off the real top 10 list with an absolute classic and the first anime that I ever watched is truly poetic, okay? So we're starting off with Inuyasha, which debuted in 2000 and was created by the legendary Rumiko Takahashi, one of the most influential women in manga history. She's also the mind behind Ranma 1/2, which I haven't seen but would love to see, especially since they just kind of rebooted that series. Regardless, Takahashi isn't just successful, she's iconic. With decades of consistent hits as well as a spot in the Eisner Hall of Fame, she's proof that female mangaka have shaped the industry just as much as anyone else. Also, fun fact, she's actually the richest female mangaka in Japan, which I thought was really cool.
Yes, queen, slay! Slay! Slay your enemies! Ruler of one of the realms of men! Smite down those that oppose you!
And for those of you who somehow don't know what Inuyasha is, it's a romance fantasy adventure about Kagome, a modern-day schoolgirl who's pulled into feudal Japan through a magical well. There, she meets the half-demon Inuyasha, and together they set out to recover the shattered pieces of the Shikon jewel. A simple premise, really, and while I have my complaints about watching it now, as a few things didn't age well, particularly the love triangle, it's such a classic mainstay anime, and there's a reason for that. It perfectly blends history, fantasy, and romance, delivering the timeless struggle between good and evil, with epic fights and heartfelt moments. And it's even credited with helping popularize the isekai genre.
Oh, no, 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 no,
Despite being written by a woman, it's loved by fans of all genders, a testament to how universal Takahashi's storytelling truly is. That's why Inuyasha absolutely deserves to open this list as one of my favorite anime created by women. Like I said in the intro, a female-created anime isn't just about romance. The next one on this list has taken the anime world by storm, and for good reason, and that's Gachiakuta. Gachiakuta was created by Kei Arana, who previously worked as an assistant to Fire Force creator Atsushi Okubo, which honestly from the last few episodes, you can tell, but she actually has been called his successor, and from there she went on to create Gachiakuta. Before that, though, she won the 103rd Newcomer Manga Award for her one-shot Shikido, showing she was already on track to become a powerhouse shonen mangaka. For those who haven't seen it yet,
Shame.
Gachiakuta is a dark fantasy dystopian series following Bruto, a boy framed for murder and thrown from the floating city known as the Sphere into the Pit, a trash wasteland. With the help of the cleaners and an unknown power known as the Vital Instruments, Rudo sets out to destroy the corrupt, wasteful government and fight his way back to the world above. And honestly, there's a reason it's blown up the way it has. It takes a familiar shonen premise, revenge, survival, rebellion, but gives it a fresh, gritty style in a world that feels both terrifying and alive, and has so much emotional, political, societal commentary that I love. If you're a fan of Fire Force, Chainsaw Man, and Jujutsu Kaisen, it's definitely one you're gonna want to watch. The energy is amazing, the art style is gritty, and the pacing keeps you hooked from the very first episode. But what really makes it stand out is Arana's perspective. There's a distinct emotional weight and creative flair that gives Gachiakuta its own voice in the shonen space. She shows the world that women can absolutely dominate in the dark, action-packed storytelling. Gachiakuta isn't just a great series, it's proof that female mangaka can bring just as much intensity, imagination, and raw energy to the shonen genre. So if you haven't started it yet, now's the time. We're in the second core of the first season. Dive into Gachiakuta and see why Arana is quickly becoming one of the most exciting new voices in shonen manga. Next up is one that honestly surprised me the most that it was created by a female when I created this list, and that is Demon Slayer. In fact, I didn't even know it was created until about 3 or 4 weeks ago when I asked my Discord to give me some recs of their favorite female created anime, and well, yeah, that was a shock. And look, before you guys come for me.
That's what she said.
And you're like, this isn't, she's not a woman, she's a man, she's not, but okay, I don't want to hear it, okay? The creator does prefer to stay anonymous, and they do use they, them pronouns to continue that anonymity. However, the general consensus is that Koyaharu Gotoge is a female mangaka, and this is confirmed from sources such as Weekly Shonen Jump and many more. So for the purpose of this video, we are going to go with the more popular rumor that Gotoge is a woman, but in order to continue with their preference, we are going to refer to them as they, them for the rest of this section.
Okay, didn't ask for your life story.
Gotoge debuted back in 2013 with a one-shot that won the 70th Jump Treasure Newcomer Manga Award. Influenced by popular anime like JoJo's and Naruto, they then created Demon Slayer, and the rest is history. Now, I'll be honest, I do have my critiques of the series, and my Discord definitely knows this. The pacing can be uneven, the story a bit repetitive, and yes, I do understand when people say the story itself is carried by its animation. But regardless, I do really love the stories. In fact, I have a Zenitsu shrine right behind me, and it would be criminal not to include it on this list, so here we are. The series has become one of the best-selling manga of all time, and for good reason. It follows Tanjiro Kamado, a kind-hearted boy whose world is shattered when his family is slaughtered, save only his sister Nezuko, who is then turned into a demon. Determined to save her, Tanjiro becomes a demon slayer and sets out on a dark, emotional journey of loss, hope, and perseverance, and that's what I love the most about the show. Beneath all the flashy animation and intense battles, Demon Slayer carries the emotional weight, empathy, and heart that are often missed out in many shonen series, and are often seen with a lot of these female mangaka. Gotoge balances brutality with tenderness, tragedy with warmth, something that's not easy to pull off at all. So even if it's not perfect, Demon Slayer deserves its place here. It's proof that a story born from a deeply emotional, character-driven perspective can still become one of the most popular, most successful anime of all time. Okay, that's not me saying it is, I'm just saying it's one of the, just so we're clear, because I feel like this whole segment has opened up a lot of interpretation for people to yell at me in the comments, and so I just want to make sure that part is clear. All right. I'll be honest, I haven't fully finished watching this next one yet, but I love it so much and I have already so many video ideas planned for it that, you know, it just feels wrong to not include it on this list. And it's actually one that I've been watching with my Discord, not to mention them again.
When will the lies end?
And it's To Your Eternity. This masterpiece was created by Yoshitoki Oima, the award-winning mangaka who's also behind my favorite anime movie of all time, A Silent Voice. So it's no surprise I'm obsessed with the show too, as well as every time I watch an episode I feel intense emotional pain.
Emotional, damn it!
And what's wild is that Oima actually wrote A Silent Voice when she was just 18 years old, and even worked briefly on Attack on Titan, which shows in the fact that no character is safe. Not to spoil a bunch, okay? Oima's storytelling has always stood out for its deep empathy and emotional honesty. She doesn't just write stories, she crafts experiences that make you feel. She won her first major award in 2015 with the New Creator Prize for A Silent Voice, and again, she later won the same award for To Your Eternity in 2018. Both works showcase her unique ability to explore themes of connection, loss, and what it means to truly be alive. For those who haven't seen To Your Eternity yet, first of all, fix that.
Do it! Just do it!
It's one of the most beautiful and underrated anime out there. Second of all, it follows an immortal entity later named Fushi, I know, on the nose, who can take the form of anything that leaves an impression on him. From a rock, to a wolf, to a bear, to a human, and everything really in between. He can also create things that have left an impression on him, like arrows, food, etc. Through this journey, Fushi learns what it means to exist, feel, and ultimately what it means to be human, while battling that he isn't at all human, being that he can't die.
Have you ever had a dream that you could do so?
Along the way, he faces off against mysterious beings known as the Knockers, who go after him and everyone he cares about. Each arc hits harder than the last, and every character leaves an imprint not just on Fushi, but on you as well in the audience. What makes this series even more special is that it comes from a female creator who consistently challenges what storytelling in manga and anime can be. Oima doesn't just write drama, she writes life itself, filled with pain, beauty, and everything in between, with a heavy emphasis on pain.
No pain. Mild, moderate, severe, very severe.
And even though I'm not all the way caught up, there was absolutely no way I was making a top 10 best anime created by women list and then not including this one. To Your Eternity is a perfect example of how powerful, emotional, and timeless anime can be when created by a female mangaka, so definitely check it out. Next up, I'm kind of cheating a little bit because this is a light novelist, but it still counts because I absolutely love this series, and while I've talked about it before, I can never talk about it enough, and that is 86. 86 was created by a woman under the pen name Asato Asato, a play on both her name and 86. She's an award-winning light novelist who began writing seriously in junior high. In 2014, her manuscript made it to the third round of the 21st Dengeki Novel Prize, and it was during that process that she began conceptualizing a very Dengeki novelesque story, and thus 86 was born and even won the prize later on. This is one of the few mecha anime I've seen to completion and been emotionally invested in, so it's really saying something when I say this is an amazing anime. The story primarily focuses on the Republic of San Magnolia, which has been at war with the Giadian Empire for 9 years, supposedly using unmanned drones known as juggernauts. However, very early on, we discovered that these unmanned juggernauts are actually manned by the outcast of the San Magnolian Empire, and we follow one particular group known as 86, which is led by Shin. The series doesn't shy away from hard topics like the human cost of war, racism, discrimination, and the systematic oppression of specific groups. But what I love about it is that through all of that, it still delivers pulse-pounding action and world building that feels cinematic and immersive. And what I absolutely love most is that Asato is able to weave this very in-your-face social commentary without detracting from the entertainment and escapism that makes anime and media so important to humans. You're fully invested in the characters and high-stakes battles, but you're also forced to reflect on the moral and societal questions she's raising. And then there's the romance element, subtle, powerful, and completely earned between Shen and Lena. Their bond proves that in the middle of war and chaos, there's room for tenderness, trust, and love. It's a reminder that no genre has boundaries and that female creators can explore romance just as naturally in mecha/military anime as slice of life or shoujo stories. 86 balances all of this so beautifully. It's gripping, thoughtful, and deeply moving. Proof that female mangaka and light novelists can tackle traditionally male-dominated genres but make them rich, layered, and unforgettable. And it's very much akin to Violet Evergarden. Foreshadowing. And so for anyone looking for a series that combines thrilling battles, moral complexities, emotional depth, and even a touch of romance, 86 is an absolute must-watch. Going back to the classics, next up we have Banana Fish. Created by the award-winning Akima Yoshida, the series is one of the most influential works by a female mangaka of all time. Yoshida made her professional debut in 1977 with a short story, A Slightly Strange Neighbor, and then just a few years later, she received critical acclaim for her series Sakura no Sono, proving early on that she had a gift for tackling complex, emotional narratives with maturity and grace. Then came her magnum opus, Banana Fish. Originally serialized from 1985 to 1994, Banana Fish became one of the most iconic shoujo manga of all time. Even though its tone and subject matter lean heavily towards crime, violence, and psychological trauma, elements rarely seen in a woman-led manga of that era.
Gotta set the tone, boys. Someone's gotta fucking set it.
Yoshida shattered expectations of what it meant to be a female-created manga, crafting something gritty, stylish, and heartbreaking all at once. And for those of you who haven't seen it, I do know it's slightly niche because it's a little bit older. The story follows Ash Lynx, a young, brilliant gang leader in New York whose life spirals into chaos after his brother's mysterious death from a drug known as Banana Fish. His investigation leads him to Eiji Okamura, a kind-hearted Japanese photographer and tourist visiting New York. What begins as an unlikely partnership slowly evolves into one of the most emotionally charged and deeply human relationships in anime history, so much so that one of the biggest debates of the show is if it's considered a boys' love or not, though my opinion is abso-freaking-lutely. Together, they uncover a dangerous conspiracy that reaches far beyond the streets they know. One that exposes corruption, trauma, and the fragile boundaries between love and survival. What makes Banana Fish so powerful is how unapologetically real it feels. It's about trauma, power, and the cost of freedom, but also connection, healing, and the human capacity for love, even in the darkest circumstances. And I will admit there are some triggering, heavy themes in this, so just content warning. Yoshida manages to write a crime thriller that's both violent and deeply tender, exploring masculinity, vulnerability, and found family in ways few creators have. It's engaging, tragic, and utterly raw.
Fucking raw!
And the story stays with you long after you finish watching it, and it's known to be one of the most emotional anime that you can watch. Yoshida has completely changed the landscape for women in the industry with this series. Banana Fish proved that female mangaka could tell stories that are every bit as intense, dark, and emotionally gripping as their male counterparts. And perhaps even more so because she infused it with heart and humanity. And it's very interesting that this one is considered a shoujo because when you watch it, you'll definitely see that you could see how it could be a shonen. Regardless, with all those things in mind, it's not hard to see why Banana Fish earned its place on this list. It's not just a classic, it's a cornerstone of anime history and a true testament to the power of women in storytelling. Next, number 7 on this list should come as no surprise. I've talked about this series ad nauseum, whether it's in my top 10 favorite anime, the best sci-fi anime to watch, or just me yapping about anime that I love, it always comes up. And it is Violet Evergarden.
I am shocked. Shocked. Well, not that shocked.
I feel like you guys are so tired of me talking about this. Okay, Violet Evergarden was created by Kana Akatsuki. And honestly, the story behind its creation and just the mangaka itself is pretty remarkable. In that, this was Akatsuki's debut work, okay? Not only was it her debut work, it became the first and only, let me repeat that, the first and only series to win the grand prize in any category of the Kyoto Animation Awards. Let that sink in. Let that sink in.
Let that sink in. Please, I'm here to help you with your plumbing. It's terrible. I can smell all the crap from outside. Please, just let me in, please.
Let that sink in that this was her debut work, and she has that honor. There's little else known about Akatsuki other than that she has another series known as Agents of the Four Seasons, which I really want to read. So if anybody watching this video has read it, please let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But for now, let's focus on Violet Evergarden since we don't know much about the mangaka herself. For those who haven't seen it or haven't watched me yap about it, it's a stunning emotional sci-fi anime following the titular character Violet, a former child soldier trained to be emotionless and efficient after the war. Not knowing what she could do, she becomes an auto memory doll, someone who writes letters for others, helping them express feelings they can't put into words, which is ironic being that she doesn't understand feelings at all. The series is set in a beautifully crafted post-war world and tackles heavy themes like loss, healing, and the meaning of love. Each episode is visually breathtaking, emotionally resonant, and carefully paced to let the audience feel every moment. And while I do have my personal critique at the age gap between Violet and her love interest, the way Violet's journey is told is so heart-wrenching. I found myself sobbing while watching the movie as I pirated it in 360p. It was the most pixelated thing I've ever seen. I felt like I was watching a VHS tape from 1965.
That is not correct.
And I still cried, okay? That's the power of storytelling. What's most impressive to me is that Akatsuki is a female creator who was able to craft an emotionally profound, mature, and visually stunning narrative right out of the gate. I keep saying this because it's just so impressive. Violet's exploration of love, identity, and human transcends typical genre constraints, making it a series that appeals to both male and female audiences alike. Violet Evergarden isn't just an anime to watch, especially if you have seen the more underrated anime 86. It's an experience. I say it every time, but it's a masterclass in storytelling and a testament to the incredible work female creators bring to the medium. It's a must, okay? Winding down, we have the criminally underrated The Great Man, and this was created by Katsura Hoshino. She debuted in 2002 with her first work known as Continue, which unfortunately wasn't super popular, so Shonen Jump recommended she create a story based on Zone, a one-shot, and this is how The Great Man was born. For those of you who haven't seen it, which is probably a lot of people, The Great Man follows Alan Walker, an exorcist tasked with fighting the Millennium Earl and his army known as Akama, who are mechanical drones powered by human souls. The series blends dark fantasy, gothic horror, and deep emotional storytelling, creating a world that's as haunting as it is compelling. Hoshino's writing skillfully explores themes of identity, sacrifice, and morality, all while delivering intense battles, intricate powers, and a layered cast of characters you can't help but care about, which is honestly a common theme throughout this video, I'm realizing. If you're a fan of dark fantasy with high stakes, memorable characters, and emotional depth, The Gray Man as well as The Gray Man Hollow is a must watch. And what's especially remarkable about this is that it's loved by both female and male audiences alike. Something that's not very easy for female mangaka to do, even though this whole video has been that. Honestly, these are standouts. Her artistry, from the detailed character designs to the elaborate atmospheric settings, elevates the story, making every character visually striking and emotionally resonant. And while The Gray Man may not always get the attention it deserves, it's a standout example of how female creators can excel in dark, action-packed shonen while delivering stories that are emotionally complex, visually stunning, and deeply memorable. So it's definitely one that I recommend. That's all I can say.
This is all I got.
Another one I've mentioned quite a few times, and one that's more typical on the surface of what you might think from a list like this, is Orange. It was created by Ichigo Takano, who made her professional debut in 2002 while she was still in high school. These women are insane. She first gained attention with her work Dream and Sun, but it was Orange that truly cemented her reputation. Despite being suspended abruptly in 2012, it was later picked up in 2015 by Futabashi's Monthly Action and went on to become a New York Times bestseller. Takano has also won several awards for the series, including the Dorama Best Shoujo Award, which is rightfully deserved. Because while it may look like a standard slice of life romance story at first glance, Orange is anything but.
Bottom.
It's deeply tragic. emotional, and layered, with a subtle sci-fi twist that puts it well above most typical high school romance anime. The story begins with Naho Takamiya, an ordinary high school girl who receives a mysterious letter from her future self. In it, her future self urges her to prevent her greatest regret in life, the death of new transfer student Kakeru Naruse. What appears to be a slice of life romance is actually a story about personal sacrifice, love, grief, and responsibility, very similar to A Silent Voice in many themes. It tackles heavy themes like depression, abuse, and coping with loss, and it does so with sensitivity and realism. Takano's writing gives each character emotional depth and vulnerability, making their struggles feel authentic and impactful. What I love most about Orange and why it deserves a spot on this list without even a second thought is how it shows that female mangaka can tell romance stories that are just as meaningful, complex, and emotionally resonant as any dark fantasy, shonen anime. It's heartbreaking, inspiring, and thoughtful all at once, and honestly at the end, even though it's a happy ending, you realize at the end there are still people who lose, which is just like so real. I don't know how else to describe that. It proves that the emotional core of a story can be just as gripping as high stakes battles or supernatural powers. If you haven't watched Orange yet, it's a must-see for anyone who loves a story that blends romance, emotion, and has a little bit of a sci-fi twist, and honestly, I can't recommend it enough. You'll probably see it in another video because I just love it that much. Last but certainly not least is one of the most popular, influential anime manga of all time, Fullmetal Alchemist. It was created by Hiromu Arakawa, a critically acclaimed mangaka who is loved both in Japan and internationally. Arakawa has actually also created a few other very niche, underrated gems that lots of people love, like The Heroic Legend of Arslan, which I've been dying to watch but can't find, and Silver Spoon, which has been on the list for quite some time. So she's not just a one-hit wonder. She began her career as an assistant to Hiroyuki Eito before making her own debut story, A Stray Dog, which won the 9th 21st Century Shonen Gangan Award, and later in 2001 she published the first chapter of Fullmetal Alchemist. The series won the 49th Shogakukan Manga Award in the shonen category in 2004, and has since become a landmark anime and manga. Honestly, I don't think there's a single person who doesn't at least know the story of this anime, even if they haven't watched it, so I'm not even gonna waste my time describing the premise. Instead, I wanna highlight why it's such a landmark anime. Fullmetal Alchemist has been hugely influential in popularizing shonen manga internationally. It was also for a very long time before Oshinoko the top rated anime on my anime list for years and years and years and years and years. And it's very easy to see why. The story combines a richly detailed world, morally complex characters, and a narrative that tackles heavy themes like political corruption, nationalism, racism, and the human cost of ambition and war. What makes it even more remarkable is that Arakawa, as a female creator, succeeded in a genre often dominated by men, especially during that time period in which the story was created. She single-handedly proved that women could write complex, action-packed, and intellectually engaging shonen stories without compromise. Her work has inspired countless creators and challenged assumptions about genders in the industry, showing that compelling storytelling knows no bounds. Fullmetal Alchemist is not just a must-watch anime. It's a masterclass in storytelling, narrative, world building, and character development. It's a perfect example of how a story can be both universally appealing and deeply meaningful, all while breaking the barriers for female creators in anime and manga. So, you know, I just feel like this one speaks for itself of why you should watch it. And that wraps up my list of my top 10 favorite anime created by female mangaka of all time. As you can see, all of these amazing stories are not bound by genre or normal conventions, and that's what I love about them. Let me know in the comments down below which of these in the list surprised you the most, and which are your favorite anime created by female mangaka. And with that, if you're looking for more anime recommendations, you can check out this playlist right here. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye! Oh, I forgot my little hand heart. Here you go.